In a world that rewards distraction and speed, there's a quiet power in choosing to learn every single day. Not because someone told you to, but because you know your future depends on it. While most people wait for life to teach them through chaos, the wise choose to grow with intention. They read when no one's watching. They reflect when others react. They study their lives like a craft, and in doing so, they rise without needing to be loud. This isn't about chasing success. It's about earning self-respect. It's about showing up day after day as a student of life. That's where real strength is forged. Not in comfort, not in hype, but in consistency, discipline, and clarity of purpose. Here on the Stoic Code, we explore timeless principles that help you master your mind, sharpen your focus, and build unshakable confidence from the inside out. So, if you're ready to stop waiting for permission and start taking control of your growth, subscribe to the Stoic Code channel and join a community of thinkers, doers, and quiet warriors walking the path of wisdom. 1. Lifelong learning, the daily habit that separates the few from the many. There's one habit that silently separates those who rise from those who remain, the decision to keep learning every single day. It doesn't require brilliance or luck. It doesn't need an expensive degree or perfect conditions. All it takes is the willingness to stay curious, to wake up each morning and ask, "What can I learn today?" In a world where most wait to be taught by hardship, the strongest individuals choose growth on purpose. They don't wait for the storm to teach them resilience. They study the patterns, they prepare, and they strengthen their foundation while the skies are still clear. That's what it means to learn with intention. It's proactive, it's strategic, and it's rare. Learning every day isn't about reading 100 books or collecting shiny credentials. It's about humility, the kind that allows you to admit you don't have all the answers and curiosity to keep searching for better ones. It's the mindset of a builder, a thinker, a quiet warrior who sees each moment as an opportunity to evolve. This habit isn't loud, it doesn't come with applause, but it transforms everything. Because once you commit to growth, even your failures become fuel. You start to recognize that life itself is the ultimate classroom. Conversations, challenges, silence, even boredom, all of them carry lessons if you're paying attention. The truth is, most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They think graduation means the end of growth. But those who build something meaningful, who develop deep strength and clarity, never stop being students. They study their failures, they analyze their thinking, they stretch their understanding, not to look impressive, but to live intentionally. Lifelong learning doesn't just sharpen your intellect, it shapes your identity. It gives you an edge in a noisy world full of distractions. While others drift aimlessly, you move with direction. While others chase comfort, you chase clarity. You don't just gather information, you transform with it. So ask yourself this: are you learning just when life forces you to, or are you learning because you choose to? One path leaves you stuck, the other sets you free. 2. The power of reading for personal growth. Most people think reading is a habit reserved for intellectuals or academics. But the truth, reading is the reason many people become exceptional in the first place. It's not about sounding smart, it's about becoming wise. Every book you open is a doorway into someone else's experience, a shortcut through their decades of failure, reflection, and triumph. When you take reading seriously, you're not just flipping through pages, you're borrowing the minds of history's sharpest thinkers. Imagine sitting across from someone who's mastered their craft over 30 or 40 years, and in just a few focused hours, you gain access to their deepest insights. That's not entertainment, that's evolution. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once advised to seek out the teachings that strengthen us and make them part of who we are. In other words, don't just read for inspiration, read for transformation. Highlight the line that punches you in the gut. Reread the paragraph that challenges you. Pause, reflect, apply. That's what most people miss. They consume books passively, page after page, hoping something magical will stick. But real growth doesn't work that way. Reading should be an active conversation, a practice of underlining, questioning, and integrating. When done right, a single sentence can shift your entire worldview. In a world that bombards you with noise, reading offers you stillness. It teaches you to focus, to dive deep, to think clearly. That in itself is a rare and powerful advantage, because while others scroll endlessly through distractions, you're training your mind for depth. And the benefits compound. The more you read, the better you speak, the better you write, the clearer your decisions become. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop doubting and start understanding. But here's the catch. This only works if you're present, if you engage, if you go beyond finishing chapters and start letting the words shape your character. Don't ask, how fast can I get through this book? Ask, what truth in here will stay with me forever? Because in the end, the books you read aren't just stories. They're seeds, and when planted in a mind ready to grow, they bloom into something far more powerful than knowledge. They become wisdom. 3. Consistency and the magic of daily habits. Everyone wants to succeed, to grow, to be great. But very few are willing to show up consistently, especially when it's boring, quiet, and unseen. That's the paradox of success. It's built not in grand moments of motivation, but in the small, repeated actions you commit to when no one is watching. Consistency isn't about doing something once in a while with intensity. It's about doing it every day with intention. The Stoics mastered this. They didn't wait for motivation to strike. They moved with discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, remind yourself you are rising to do the work of a human being." That wasn't just a quote. It was a ritual, a reminder that purpose begins with showing up. The mistake most people make is chasing the high of a new beginning, only to disappear when the novelty fades. They want transformation without repetition, but you don't become fit by working out once. You don't become wise by reading occasionally. You don't become resilient by acting only when it's easy. True change comes through rhythm, through daily, deliberate action. When you do something every day, whether it's reading, writing, working out, meditating, you're not just building a habit. You're reshaping your identity. You're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. And over time, those votes add up. Like brushing your teeth, it becomes automatic. You don't argue with yourself. You just do it. And that's when the real magic happens. When your actions no longer require constant motivation, but flow naturally from who you are. Think about the most grounded people you know, the ones who remain steady in chaos, who make progress without drama. They didn't get there through hacks or overnight success. They got there by showing up, over and over again, especially when it was hard, especially when it was quiet. So ask yourself, what's one small thing you can do every single day that would change your life if you stuck with it for a year? Now imagine who you'd be if you actually followed through. That's the difference consistency makes. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's unshakable. And in a world full of noise, the most powerful people are the ones who master the quiet work. 4. Deep focus. How to eliminate distractions and get things done. In today's world, distractions aren't accidents, they're the default. Every ping, every scroll, every headline is designed to fracture your attention and steal your energy. That's why in the age of noise, focus isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. Every time you sit down to do meaningful work, you face a battle. One part of you wants progress, the other wants comfort. And comfort often shows up wearing the mask of distraction: your phone, social media, messages, mindless browsing. The Stoics warned us about this internal tug-of-war centuries ago. They didn't fear the chaos outside. They trained to master the chaos within. Epictetus taught that what we allow into our minds becomes our reality. That's why protecting your attention isn't optional, it's essential. Your focus is your life force. Where it goes, your energy follows. So the question isn't just, what are you doing? It's, what are you allowing to control your mind? Deep focus begins with a decision. This matters right now. Nothing else does. But that decision doesn't come naturally. It requires discipline. Focus means delaying gratification. It means not checking the notification. It means sitting with discomfort long enough to get into flow. But once you do, time slows down. Your thoughts sharpen. Your output multiplies. And here's the beauty. Deep focus isn't about being a machine. It's about being fully human, present, intentional, engaged. When you learn to quiet the outside world and direct your full presence toward a task, you tap into clarity most people never experience. But focus doesn't happen by accident. It must be engineered. You need to create space for it. Silence, boundaries, simplicity. Shut the door. Turn off the noise. Tell the world, not now. That single act of defiance, of claiming your time, can change everything. Because while the world chases dopamine and busyness, you're building something deeper, mastery. And over time, that consistent practice of focus becomes your competitive edge. You're no longer reacting, you're responding, you're not scattered, you're aligned. So the next time you feel pulled toward another distraction, pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me grow or pulling me away from my purpose? Your focus is your future. Protect it like everything depends on it, because in many ways it does. 5. Self-discipline, the hidden driver of high performance. Everyone talks about motivation, but here's the truth. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation gets you started. Discipline gets you results. And in the long run, it's not the most talented or most inspired people who win. It's the ones who show up when they don't feel like it. That's the quiet power of self-discipline. Discipline isn't glamorous. It doesn't post for applause. It doesn't care about moods, feelings, or weather. It shows up every single day. When it's raining, when it's boring, when no one's watching. That's when discipline speaks the loudest, through action without negotiation. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't believe in relying on willpower when life got hard. They trained for it. They didn't wait for motivation to appear. They acted on principle. They believed that freedom wasn't the absence of structure. It was the strength to master oneself. Seneca said it best, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If you can't say no to your own impulses, your desires, your temptations, you'll always be ruled by something outside of you. True freedom begins when you can command yourself. Most people avoid discipline because they think it's a punishment, but that's the illusion. Discipline doesn't take the joy out of life. It gives it back. It frees you from regret. It builds confidence. It creates momentum. The more you follow through on your promises, the more you begin to trust yourself. And self-trust? That's rare. That's powerful. Discipline is also the antidote to chaos. When the world feels unstable, your routines hold you steady. Your actions become anchors. You keep moving, not because it's easy, but because you've built the habit of motion. You stop making excuses. You start making progress. But here's the truth. You don't have to be perfect to be disciplined. You just have to be consistent. Even when you stumble, get up and return to the path. That resilience builds character. That commitment builds identity. So the next time you're tempted to procrastinate, to quit, or to wait for a better moment, remember this. Self-discipline is your competitive edge in a world that celebrates shortcuts. Every act of discipline is a step toward the life you claim to want, and over time, those steps become a legacy. 6. Unshakable confidence, built from the inside out. Confidence isn't about walking into a room and feeling superior. It's about walking in without needing to compare yourself at all. True confidence is quiet, grounded. It comes from self-respect, not from validation. And it's not something you're born with, it's something you build. Most people chase confidence by focusing on external things, their appearance, their status, their titles. But what happens when those things fade? Their confidence fades with them. That's why real confidence must be rooted deeper in your actions, your values, your consistency. It grows every time you follow through on a promise to yourself. When you say you'll do something and you do it, you earn trust with the one person who matters most, you. That's the foundation, not praise, not applause, but integrity. The Stoics didn't seek approval, they focused on character. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, didn't build his strength by shouting or showing off. He built it in silence, in self-control, in his daily discipline to be the kind of man he respected. He reminded himself, "Don't waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Confidence is the same. It's not about talking yourself up. It's about proving yourself to yourself, quietly, consistently. Every challenge you face and overcome adds another brick to your foundation. Every fear you confront, every doubt you push through, every hard thing you do without needing to be seen. And here's the shift. The more your confidence comes from within, the less the outside world can shake it. You stop needing permission. You stop fearing judgment. You don't need to impress anyone. You're too busy becoming someone you're proud of. Confidence also means ownership. It means knowing your strengths, owning your flaws, and showing up anyway. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about standing in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So, if you want to build confidence, stop waiting for it. Build it through action, through effort, through excellence. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Speak less, do more. Align your behavior with your principles, and the rest will follow. Because in a world full of performance, the rarest thing is someone who's real. And real confidence doesn't announce itself. It radiates, calm, steady, undeniable. 7. Think and act like the top 1%. What separates the top 1% from everyone else isn't just money, luck, or connections. It's mindset. It's the way they think, but even more importantly, it's the way they act on what they think. While most people react to life, the top 1% respond with intention. While many chase trends and distractions, they chase truth and alignment. They don't waste energy trying to prove their worth. They invest it in mastering themselves. And that's the difference. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most, consistently and with clarity. The average mind is scattered. It chases every notification, every piece of gossip, every impulse. But the exceptional mind is trained. It's focused. It filters out the noise to protect what's essential. That kind of discipline isn't accidental. It's deliberate. The Stoics lived this way. They didn't need to be loud to be powerful. They didn't get pulled into drama or distractions. They kept their circles small, their minds sharp, and their principles intact. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the mindset of the 1%. They don't try to control the uncontrollable. They master their responses, and because of that, they move through life differently, calm, composed, strategic. But it's not just about mindset, it's about movement. The top 1% don't just sit around with ideas, they execute. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum, they act, adjust, learn, and repeat, and they do it relentlessly. They rise early, not to look impressive, but to claim quiet hours for deep work. They say no more than they say yes because their energy is currency and they spend it wisely. They don't chase everything. They aim for excellence somewhere and build from there. So ask yourself, are your actions today aligned with the life you say you want? If someone watched you for a week, would they see preparation for greatness or procrastination disguised as busyness? Thinking like the top 1% is step one. But living it? That's where the separation happens. And the good news, you don't need permission. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to move with clarity, with discipline, and with relentless consistency. 8. Relentless action. How to execute every single day. Ideas are everywhere. Talk is cheap. Planning is easy. What's rare, what truly separates the achievers from the dreamers, is execution. The ability to act, to do the work again and again, even when no one's clapping. That's what relentless action looks like, and it's one of the most underrated superpowers in today's world. Most people are stuck in the planning phase. They say they're waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, the right energy. But while they wait, someone else with less talent, less knowledge, and fewer resources is out there doing the work. And they're winning, not because they're lucky, but because they move. Relentless action isn't about being robotic. It's not about burning out or pushing for perfection. It's about progress, forward motion. It's showing up and executing, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when it counts the most. The Stoics never romanticized effort. They believed in it. Epictetus didn't say, "Talk about courage." He said, "Be courageous. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the mood. Act your way into readiness." When you start, even small, the fog begins to lift. Action creates clarity. You see what works and what doesn't. You adjust, you learn, you grow. But when you hesitate, when you overthink, everything feels harder. Doubt creeps in. Momentum disappears. That's the trap most people fall into. They confuse activity with productivity. They stay busy, but not effective. They scroll, multitask, and drown in low-level tasks that feel like work, but lead nowhere. Relentless action is different. It's targeted. It's focused. It's asking, what is the one thing I must do today that will move me forward? Then doing it. No drama, no delay. Yes, there will be days when you're tired, discouraged, or distracted. Everyone has those, but relentless people move anyway. They don't wait for perfect energy. They generate it by taking the first step. So here's a question that can shift your life. What would happen if you simply did what you said you'd do? No excuses, no delays, just consistent, deliberate execution. Because in the end, it's not the loudest or smartest who rise. It's the ones who move relentlessly. 9. Mental toughness. How to train your mind for success. Life doesn't hand out victories to the most talented. It tests the ones who can endure. Mental toughness isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's not about hiding your emotions or faking strength. It's about staying centered when everything around you tries to shake you. And it's one of the greatest assets you can develop. The world will challenge you. Setbacks, delays, failures, criticism, they're not signs you're on the wrong path. They're part of the process. And when those storms hit, most people collapse. They slow down. They quit. But the mentally tough, they shift from "why me" to "what now?" Mental toughness is about responding instead of reacting. It's choosing clarity over chaos. It's continuing the climb when your legs are tired, your path is unclear, and your progress feels invisible. It's not about comfort, it's about control. The Stoics knew this well. They trained for adversity. Seneca practiced voluntary discomfort, not to suffer, but to prove to himself that he could. He'd sleep on the floor, wear rough clothes, not because he had to, but because he wanted to send a message to his mind. I can handle this. I can endure more than I fear. That's the key. You don't build mental strength by avoiding hardship. You build it by walking through it. You lean into resistance, not because it's pleasant, but because it makes you resilient. And here's the truth, resilience is trained. Every time you get up after falling, every time you keep working through frustration, every time you stand calm in chaos, you're not just surviving, you're building something. But toughness isn't about perfection, it's about choice. The choice to stay in the fight when escape would be easier. The choice to keep moving when standing still feels safer. It's found in the small moments, the ones no one sees, where you decide to keep showing up. Mental toughness means saying no to comfort when it costs you growth. It means choosing purpose over excuses, consistency over emotion. And it's built day by day in silence without applause. So ask yourself, when life gets heavy, do you retreat or do you rise? The strongest people aren't unscathed, they're unshaken, not because the world is soft, but because they are solid. The truth is, most people are waiting for the right moment, the perfect plan, the magical motivation to finally begin. But those who rise, those who build lives of quiet power and lasting purpose, they don't wait. They decide, and they commit. You've now seen what sets the few apart from the many. It's not talent, not luck, not even timing. It's mindset, it's movement. It's the relentless decision to show up, to learn, to grow, and to act with intention, especially when it's hard, quiet, or uncomfortable. That's the Stoic way. To live with clarity, not chaos. To choose progress over perfection. To embrace discomfort, not as punishment, but as training. And most of all, to become the kind of person who leads from within, anchored, focused, and unshakable. This path isn't easy, but it's worth it, because while the world celebrates noise, you're building depth. While others chase trends, you're becoming timeless. And while many will start and stop again and again, you'll keep going, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. So what's next? Start where you are. Choose one action, one habit, one area of your life, and begin. Then show up again tomorrow. And again the next day. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to prove yourself to the world. You need to keep the promises you've made to yourself. That's where real confidence, strength, and freedom are born. And as you walk this path, reading, learning, focusing, taking action, you'll look back one day and realize you've quietly moved further than most ever dared to go. You won't need to announce it. Your life will speak for itself. If you're ready to think deeper, act stronger, and live with unshakable purpose, subscribe to the Stoic Code channel. This is just the beginning. Let's walk the uncommon path together.